major intersects the discipline and the course. And Beth's work in WMS 360 is a perfect example of this teaching learning outcome and also a perfect closure to this session. Beth.
Okay, first I just kind of want to open with some statistics to get you thinking about the topic I'm going to go into. 1 in 3 women on the planet will be beaten or raped in her lifetime. 1 in 5 women will experience rape or attempted rape during her college years, and less than 5% of those rapes will ever be reported. So a couple things to ask yourself is, why do these things not go reported? Why do people not stand out against it? And when I did some research, I found that fear was a big part of it. Fear of the person never being caught, fear that they might be seen as inappropriate, irresponsible, or even slutty in some ways, and a fear that they'll be seen as a different person after this has happened to them. And something to always include is that rape isn't about sex. Really, violence against women isn't about sex and the way they're dressed and the way that they're acting. It's about control, and it's about domination over another person, and that can be related in many different parts of life, and it's important to recognize that. Another thing that goes along with rape is that there's this myth that rapes happen by this scary, dark person in an alley who you've never met before, but that doesn't seem to be the case. West Virginia did a study, the College of West Virginia. 73% of rapes are by someone they know, and 90% of college rapes are by someone that they know. So that's just a couple of interesting statistics. Domestic violence is an umbrella term for violence of any form on an intimate partner. Now, talking with my professor, we didn't like the term. We were under the assumption that domestic violence sounds like it only happens at home, and within a man and a woman at home, in the privacy of their own home, and not just anywhere between a man and a woman. It's not the case. What we were thinking, it maybe could be called gender-based violence or relationship violence, and that would be a more appropriate term. Things to consider with domestic violence is it's typically not an isolated occurrence. It's not always one thing that happened that changed your relationship. A lot of times this goes on for weeks, months, years, and people change their lives and the way they act in a relationship to avoid things like this, and it's not acceptable. Some people were saying that, I was looking online at arguments, and that it's a cultural thing, and then our society does stem from a patriarchal system in a legal sense, but it's not any sort of explanation to why it would be acceptable in any situation. Also, there's some myths that it only happens to minority groups and in low-income environments, and that's not the case either. Domestic violence happens anywhere. It doesn't know any income level. It happens in any sort of relationship. And like I said before, it's not typically an isolated occurrence. The FBI reported in 1996 that 30% of female murder victims were at the hand of a husband or a partner, which is a really scary statistic. And I think it's safe to say that if you were a murder victim of an abuse case, that probably wasn't the first time it happened. And maybe if someone had stood up and said something, or had a comfortable place to go and speak to someone, maybe this could have been avoided. Obviously, we had a tragedy here on campus this semester that had to do with domestic violence, and she knew that person. She was comfortable, and she probably loved him, and she trusted him. And things like this don't just happen. A lot of times there are under themes that have to do with it. So I came to this topic in my sex and culture class. I honestly didn't know that violence against women was at the level that it was almost an epidemic, that people were really realizing how much of a problem this was. So my interest came in my class, and we watched videos and first-hand accounts of violence, not just in the United States, but on a global scale. And it was scary. I never knew that this had gone on at the level that it had. And it ultimately made me think, what can I do? I'm a college student. I don't hold a position of great influence or power. What can I do? So at the time I was also in a video class, and we had to do a PSA. So I'm just going to briefly show you the PSA that I made with a couple group members, and then I'll explain after. So I based that off of, I don't know if anyone's heard of it, the vagina monologues. Has anyone heard of that? Okay, well, there's a part of one of the monologues is, my vagina is mine. And I thought that it would be an interesting spin to talk about, you know, everything of yourself is yours, and you have all your rights to it, and no one else does. So I went around campus, and I interviewed people, and I got a bunch of clips of just girls, just regular people like me, like you, who also shared my views. So I made a PSA about that, and then I really looked into the VDay movement. Vagina Monologues goes along with the VDay movement, and it's a alternate Valentine's Day celebration that goes on February 14th, and it was written by Eve Ensler, and it's just a bunch of monologues that have to do with the things that women go through every day, the realities they face. Some of them are good, some of them are a little more dark, and a lot of them just open your eyes to things that you may not have known go on. And both men and women both enjoy this. They can all connect on it. A lot of it uses terminology and words that you might not hear in everyday conversation, which I think is also pretty eye-opening. The VDay movement here is, we actually have one on campus. Did everybody see something on campus about the VDay movement? Well, it went on in the Student Union, the library, and Tower Fine Arts. And it unites women to a cause while drawing attention to global issues of violence. What I found interesting, being a communications major, is how they work their public relations. They have a page on the website that allows you to click on pretty much all the publicity that you need to have your own VDay movement. They really pave the road for you to make it all happen, and they do it easily for you, which is really awesome. Vagina Monologues, pretty much anyone can apply for it. You apply to the rights, and they send you the promotional materials, and the only thing about it is that you have to stay to the script, and they tell you how to have the cast. It's a cast of all women, and then you have to donate your proceeds to an organization to stop violence against women. So it's a really great organization that just builds awareness, and this is a perfect example of what can I do. This is something that anyone can get involved in and even lead at a school level, at an organizational level, which is really great. Now I have a clip here. This is from our Brockport VDay movement. This is in the Tower Fine Arts Center. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I'll play it for you, and then I'll talk about it after. stop it there, but this went on in the Student Union, the library, and Tower of Fine Arts. This was, I think, the biggest one that we had, and there were, as you can see, there were both men and women involved in it, and it was just a high-spirited event that really drew attention. And it's nice that everybody is involved. This was brought here by Women and Gender Studies Department, along with the music department, the dance department, I want to say in the art department, and everybody really worked together to bring this here to campus. We have vagina monologues on campus, I want to say, in 2006 or 2008, and we sold out the auditorium, which we haven't done since. So it really, just being on campus and letting everyone know about it really does bring a lot of awareness to the event. So I just want to thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope I opened your eyes to some statistics, and I hope that you all go home and you tell someone that Brockport is rising to break the chain against violence against women.
The PSA is wonderful, and I think it's a great thing to empower women. But I'd like to comment that we also need to include men in not only in empowering men to help fight against violence, but also that men, as we know, are the main perpetrators of domestic violence. And we do focus a lot on women, prevention, educate them, know the warning signs, but truly it's got to be a partnership, and men need to be involved in this movement as well.
Yeah, and I did focus on violence against women with this particular presentation. I found that 13% of domestic violence cases are against men as well. So I can't completely count them out of it because it does go on, but I do understand what you're saying, that it's not by any means a woman's doing or fault, but you have to have trust for the partner that you're with that something like that would never even be thought of.
Right, and the fundamental message is you're valuable, you don't deserve this, it's not your fault. The underlying message is there, that you did a great job.
Thanks.
Other questions? Well, thanks so much. I just want to say another big round of applause for our 4 presenters today. And thanks so much to our audience for joining us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Scholars Day, 30th anniversary. Thanks again for coming.